I've added 50 watts to my FTP since January doing high volume sweet spot base. I'm moving to build after the last FTP bump. And he mentions the fact that it's difficult with the VO2 workout there. So he's asking basically, why not just keep doing sweet spot? If it's working now, why not just keep doing it?
It's a fair question. Consider your goals. I mean, do you need to have any particular type of fitness right now, or are you just simply trying to elevate FTP? And if you're content with the monotony of sweet spot base, because high volume is entirely sweet spot base, and you feel like you can keep going and keep eking gains out of it, I don't know why you would steer away from it. If it's working for you, I mean, is that, if it ain't broke.
Especially if you're not racing, there will be a time where you're going to need to do some VO2 work. And if you're a road racer or a mountain bike racer, just doing sweet spot will be, you probably have more benefit in a course if you go into build and then specialty. But I'm a good example of this too. Just doing sweet spot a lot, it really helped me get a lot stronger. And actually for Cape Epic, lots and lots and lots of sweet spot, I think, because that's really what every question for the next 6 months is just going to go right back to it. But lots of sweet spot that's pretty much what we're going to do, right? Is sweet spot for
but these
many
these
days.
are unusual circumstances too. You can do one thing for a heck of a long time because we don't really have anything. I mean, if your goals are simply to elevate FTP and this is working, why change it?
Well, and I would offer the flip of that. So exactly right. Like, figure out what your goals are and work backward from that. And I would offer the other side of the same coin, which is don't avoid the VO2s just because you're struggling with them. Learning how to do VO2 intervals is itself a learning curve. Like, that's a hard thing. It's hard to get. Those sensations are never comfortable. They will never feel good. It's always going to be super hard. And honestly, even now, I was doing some VO2 work last week, and in the middle of the first interval, I really was like, there's no way I can do another one of these. And then I did the second one and felt like I could barely finish that one. And then I did the third one and felt like I could barely finish that one. And I managed to eke my way through the whole workout. But every single time I was bumping myself back into that zone, I was feeling like this is not going to be possible. Learning how to do that is really, really valuable. So if you don't need the VO2 stimulus for whatever goals that you have right now, sweet spot is super effective and you can still get really, really fit on that. On the other hand, there is some value to just trying to learn how to tackle that challenge. So I wouldn't pick the sweet spot just because the VO2 is not a lot of fun right now.
Yeah, good point.
And those VO2 repeats, I mean, even if you're not chasing a particular physiological adaptation or performance adaptation, they're a good thing to sprinkle in anyway, just because they offer perspective and they offer motivation. I mean, the perspective comes in the form of, these are super hard. So when you return to, you go from 120% for a couple minutes of time and you return to 85, 90, 92%, 94, whatever, everything scales a little bit. Those become slightly more manageable. You expect that resistance to kick in if you're an ergo, or, to feel that pressure on your legs when you shift into the gear to start the interval. And it's dulled. It's like, oh, this is so much nicer. I can definitely do a 20-minute or a 10-minute interval of this. On top of that, the motivation you gain from it, being able to, what Amber just described, gut out a really hard workout, get through it, that carries for days and weeks.
It's a superpower. It gives you superpowers.
I was just going to say, I was thinking of Nate's, like, channeling Nate when you were saying that, Amber. Next time you come across a hard workout like that, just be kind to yourself. Don't worry about it. Just don't do the workout. Anytime it gets hard, until Cape Epic, whenever that is next year, just don't do it.
Well, I just noticed that he updated this and said, goals, all the races went away. So I would say with that, if you don't have a specific goal, this is a great time to learn how to tackle these things. Experiment, because if you can't get through the workout, try again, like the next day or the next week or whenever the next opportunity comes up. It's not going to, there's no goals, so there's no getting set back right now. So why not experiment and learn how to tackle these things?
And just because you've seen 50 watts from the first bout with this does not mean you're going to see 50 watts again. There is a point of diminishing returns.
That's a good point.
So
yeah, it happens 3 times and you're pro probably.
Right. And yeah, exactly. So this is why in many cases, and to your point, Amber, I've been telling a lot of people, just go through with base build specialty, even if your events are canceled, or just base build, something like that. Like, let yourself work on something different and maybe explore something different, because
if you've never, exactly. And if you've never stacked 2 sweet spot base segments in a row, that's another thing that you can try and just see how it works for you. I mean, just figure out, Yeah.
Don't feel locked into the entire sweet spot based phase. I mean, if you start working into the, round 2 of high volume and the gains stop coming or the motivation falls, well, then, it's past its point of effectiveness.
Mm. A couple of questions on outside stuff. First, when training outdoors with TrainerRoad outside workouts, which is pretty darn awesome, by the way, I've been doing a ton of them now, and it's been a blast. That helps me get more specific training on my mountain bike. So that way it's just easier to train on the mountain bike, not on the rollers, but to do it outside. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so when training outdoors, is it better to be in the power zone at the top of the zone during the sweet spot intervals? And then mentions, I try to be at the max number for VO2 max. So a couple tips for this one. Actually, Chad, go ahead, maybe on the physiology side, and then.
Sure. Yeah. I was just going to say with sweet spot, it's a pretty narrow range. So honestly, if you're anywhere within it, you're probably deriving the same benefits you're going to get the low end to the high end of the range. I mean, we're talking about a 6-watt spread or a 6% spread. With VO2 max, it's kind of what you can repeat and get through the workout, but also what happens to your next workout as a result of that. Because VO2 max work is one of those where you can really overdo it. It may not seem like it at the time. You may be able to tack on another interval or two, or maybe do them at 5% higher than you did them last time. But what impact does that have on the higher quality workouts that follow?
Mm-hmm. One thing to add to that too is the fact that with VO2s, like Chad said, what can you sustain throughout the workout? Try to aim for the power target that you can actually maintain the whole way through. Don't go max out every time, just because that's a good way to make sure that the next day's workout is going to be tough. So
yeah, and we've talked about VO2 max work not being about the highest watts you can repeat so much as the highest level of breathing and highest. I mean, we're looking for something that riding those watts will manifest. So it's easy to get tied to the watts, but what we're looking for is more about what the body's going through when it holds those particular watts.
Another point to make too is if you read Chad's descriptions for the workouts, you'll see that many times what Chad is talking about is, do as much as you can to stay at this sort of target. It's not like your workout is null and void because you were 1 to 2 watts off, or you were 5 watts off, you were 10 watts off. It's not. So, and we've talked about this many times at different points. And you can actually see an article where Sean, one of our copywriters, actually wrote an article on this, where he compared people that did the workouts inside on TrainerRoad versus the same workout done with TrainerRoad outside workouts synced to their Garmin or their Wahoo, and looked at the differences. And in the end, the same intentions were carried out. Like, yes, maybe they went about it in a different way, but the same intentions were carried out. The one pro tip that I would have is set up your Garmin or your Wahoo, especially if you have a Garmin. You can set it up with a custom workout screen, and we have that on our blog. And it's really cool because that way what the custom workout does, or a custom workout screen, is it has a target field. And that target power field will actually select halfway in between that range and just give you a number to search for. And it also makes it way easier because you don't have a bouncing around number. You also don't have an average you're trying to drag up or drag down. It just helps because you can see it's populating on the graph down below, but then you just see where the target is and where you're at. And I personally do 10-second smooth power outside. I know we have another question about holding smooth power, and I do 10-second power when I'm training outside, and it just makes things way easier. You'll find yourself not worrying and constantly chasing the ball up and down quite as much. So it's an awesome way to train. Fantastic way to train. If you like this video, you should subscribe to our channel. Maybe even give this video a like with a thumbs up and a comment down below.
If you want to see race analysis videos, you can click on it right over here. And if you want to get your coaching questions answered, you can click on it right over here.
And if you want to become a faster cyclist, which you should go over to TrainerRoad.com. It'll make you faster. We promise. We guarantee it, right, Nate?
Guaranteed. Or your money back.
Yes, it's true, actually. We really will do that.
Yeah.